amazing interface, isn't it? So shall we? We're good to go?
Yeah.
Okay, hello everyone, and thank you for joining us for this talk session on Akeytsu. So it will be the first ever unveil of Akeytsu V1. And my name is Julie Barrett. I'm working with Nukegara, the software developer of Akeytsu, and I'm here with my friends for Hyperkinetic Studios, based here in LA. Sarah and Gabriela Montes, who will be doing the demo. She's hiding at the top of the room, but she will do a great demo, I'm sure. She's been a user, an early adapter of Akeytsu, working on Epic Tavern games. We've been working with Hyperkinetics since more than 1 year and a half. So all this to say that it is effectively our V1 version, but Akeytsu was out in the market more than 2 years ago as a beta version, and it has been made. We have go through about 12 release updates until this V1 version that will be released next October 25th. So we are presenting today Akeytsu V1. Just a few words because we are running late, and just to give you a sense of why we're saying we are reinventing animation. It's because Akeytsu was created, was designed and developed by Aurélien Charrier, who's the CEO of Nukegara, and also Cédric Vidal-Duvernay, sorry. And they've been working themselves on games for more than 12 years at Eden Games, and so they created Akeytsu to resolve the complexity of 3D animation and rigging. The tools they had at the time were not optimized and optimal for them, and so they just thought, wow, we need to start something from scratch, rethink the workflow, the 3D workflow, reimagine the way of working with very artist-driven user interface, and this was the idea. So I will leave it up to Gabriela, to show the new features of V1 and to show Akeytsu for the one who has never seen it. And I think in 3 words, if I may summarize Akeytsu in 3 words, it would be fast, easy, and fun. Fast because we see a huge gain of productivity. This is the feedback from tons and tons of users. Easy because it is effectively quite easy to learn, very straightforward. All your tools are on the interface, no hidden menu. And the people who are using it today are professional animators, but also newcomers in 3D animation. And the last thing is fun. This is the feedback that we have a lot from our users, and it's probably the most rewarding feedback we can have because they feel fun again to animate. So Gabriela, please go ahead. Thank you.
Hi, how's everyone doing today?
Good.
Thank you all for joining us. Sorry about the setup time. But yes, as you can see here, we have Akeytsu open. We have a big display 3D viewport. There is no hidden UI. All of the menus that you would need are out here in the open. Basically, the workflow for Akeytsu is very straightforward. You import your FBX mesh model character, and then you create your skeleton, skin, mirror that skeleton and your skinning, and then you add your IKs, you animate, and you export your model with all of that new added information. So the cool thing about Akeytsu and all of its menus is that all of these things can be moved around to make your workflow personal and best for you. All of these little menus have their own little separate uses, and yeah, big viewport. Here you can see that we have a character with some joints already added to it. And these joints actually were created really quickly. So here we're looking at our rigging viewport, and in this little area here, we have a skeleton menu. We have these two buttons here, which is for creating a really quick biped skeleton for any of your characters. One is specifically for later use in Unity, and the other for later use in Unreal. So if we click on the Unity button, you see here we already have half of our skeleton for any symmetrical biped character. If you, let's say you wanted to add any more bones, then you could go ahead and very quickly add new bones. If you decided that you forgot to add some bones, then it's very easy to add. So anything you would need for creating your skeleton is in this small menu here. The same with orienting your joints. Is this button here. You can change your axis here. Once you're done with that, you can hide that if you feel that that is what you need. But yeah, it's very quick to create a skeleton. So here we have a character that already has the skeleton, well, half of the skeleton added, because later on we want to mirror this guy. And we have moved around all of our joints to fit into our character exactly where we want them to be placed. So let's talk a little bit about skinning. Here we have our skin atelier, and our skinning process is called the dual skin because it happens in 2 steps. The first step is that it creates a rigid bind from your bones to your mesh, and that process is actually not completely skinned yet. What the rigid bind is more of is like a test plan or a blueprint for your actual skinning. So what you want to do is select all of your joints. Oops. So you select all of your joints, and then you select all of your meshes, and you go into your check mode, and here is your first button, which is your rigid bind. Now, if you click on any part of your mesh, you see that there is a yellow selection on your vertices, and those are the vertices that are sort of test planned to be mainly parented to that specific joint. So you can go ahead and go around, look at your test plan, look at if there are any issues. You can just very quickly add some influence from that bone to those new vertices. So if I rotate my foot, you see that there is all of those vertices that are needed to be on that part of the foot are already there. So here we have the same issue. We want our pectoral muscles to be part of that chest bone. Again, because you are going to be mirroring over your character, then this character's left side doesn't matter so much. Yeah, let's say we are happy with our first step, we're happy with our rigid bind. So what we will do now is we will select all of our joints again, and we will press this number 2 button. And what that does is that it has now actually bound our rigid bind, or our mesh, to our skeleton per what you had selected to be on that mesh. Another cool feature that is part of this rigging process is that here in our picker, which is where all of our joints are displayed, you see that there are these little icons. And so this icon here is for when you do your second step. This will smooth out the mesh very smoothly, so it'll create this nice gradient. So it'll share information. These vertices will share information from both this joint and this joint, but you can make it a lower amount of smoothing, or you can turn that off completely to have a very rigid bind. So another cool thing about our dual skin process is that you can go back and forth. So if you decide that you're messing around with your character and you're checking to make sure that everything is working fine, and oh no, look, there's an issue there. We can very quickly go back to our first step, which is a rigid bind again. You see there are no smoothing there. And you make sure you have selected the correct joint. You work on that blueprint again. And then when you're done with that, you can select all of your joints again, press that number 2 button, and then, oh no, oh sorry, I had a selection. So go back to number 1, make sure that it is on the correct joint. Okay. And now select all and press the number 2 button again. And then that should have fixed your finger. So very quick, go back and forth easily. Super easy to fix. So now that we have our character the way we want him, now we can go ahead and select all of our joints again, and we can click on this button here to mirror it over. So not only has Akeytsu mirrored over our entire skeleton, but it's also mirrored over our skinning. With just the press of 1 button, everything there should be working. And so it's very much quicker than other rigging and animation software, because it's just 1 click and then both skeleton and skinning are mirrored. So we're gonna go ahead and start adding our eye case, because now you can already animate in FK. But if you click, so you click your parent and then you click on your child, and here is our IK menu, and you can go ahead and click on your IK button, and here you have your IK control. So another cool thing about Akeytsu is that you can animate in FK, and you can animate in IK as well, in your same animation. Also, I think I mentioned this before, but only 1 skeleton is needed for your FK and your IK. You don't need extra controls. You can select anywhere that you want to animate on your character, and you key specifically what you have already selected. So selecting any part of your mesh just directly selects that specific joint, and you key your joint, and there are no issues through that. So very fast to build, very fast to modify, and really fast to just begin animating. Here I already have an IK and my FK rigged. So now we can talk about our spinner. So our spinner here is our 2D UI transform tool. And the reason why this was created is because in a lot of other 3D softwares, when you're moving your character around trying to animate him, you have to move your camera in order to select all of the controls. You have to move your camera to pose your character. You have to get in real close or farther away depending on what it is that you're animating, and so you spend a lot of time doing that. Here this spinner allows us to just very quickly select any part of the joint that you want to move and just start moving it around any way you want. So you can start posing your character without having so much to spin around and look for things. As you can see here, we have our rotation selected. So if you just click and drag on these little colors, and you can rotate in different axes. The same here with transform or your move tool. It's looking a little weird because we're dislocating his arm, but it's okay. And the same with scale. Another cool thing is that if we right-click on this button here, then you have a special rotation where it'll rotate specifically. So it'll rotate specifically just that joint, and it'll keep the same information from all your other joints. So you see here that only that joint is rotating, but the rest of his body is sort of where it has been placed in the same position. So it's a really good tool for when you're animating. And the same with scale. If I wanted to have a very stretchy arm, then you can see here my arm can stretch out and stretch thick. So that is our spinner. And now let's take a look at our IK for our foot. We have a reverse foot. So here I just select the ball of my foot, and if I go to bind pose, then you can, with one click of a button, have your reverse foot. Then we go back into check mode, and you can see that our IK is working. And so the same thing happens here with our spinner is, I can place this anywhere I want in the scene, and here you see that these little icons have changed. So now if I click and drag with my left mouse button, I can rotate my foot in X. And if I click and drag with my right mouse button, you see that it's a different type of rotation now. And the same with these guys here. I can rotate the whole foot, or I can rotate through my toe with my right mouse click. The same here. Rotate the whole foot with the control or through the toes. And then this middle button here is for rotating your pole vector. And you have that same middle for the pole vector in this regular IK. And so now we're going to go ahead and show you part of the animations. Here we have a character from Epic Tavern, which is our female orc, looking all cute and sassy. You see here we have changed to our animation here on the bottom right hand corner. So we have all of these new little menus. Here we have the animation bank, which is sort of the layers, well, not the layers, but our different animations. And then we have the time bar down here. We have a cycle maker. We have our mixer, which is our animation layers, and we have a stacker. So the reason why we have a stacker is that the time bar wasn't in any animation software. It's not really designed to work very well with keyframes. If you wanted to look at all of your keyframes and you have like a really long animation, then you would have to shorten your time bar to get really in there and work on those small details and then move your time bar around. And so you end up spending a lot of time doing that. So the stacker is actually designed specifically for Akeytsu after the traditional 2D exposure sheet. So here is all of our keyframe information. This is how many keyframes I have in this animation. You see here that I can mark them as breakdowns or extreme keys. Here on the left, I have which specific frame they begin at. On our right, we have how long that keyframe holds for. Or not holds for, but like how long it is. So here I can very quickly just type in a different number, and you see that that has changed here to be 30 frames long, and the rest of my keyframes have been pushed out. The ones that are behind that have been pushed out to be, now it is a longer animation. So the same thing, I can make this a smaller number and have shortened that through there. And so it's very easy to just change any part of your keyframes here. If you decided that you wanted to just, change one keyframe but not change the rest of them, then you could do that in the time bar, or you can just very quickly create keys through here without having to affect the timing. You could also create new keyframes through here. So you have the best of both worlds. Keyframes here. Things can very easily be managed through both of these menus. And then here we have our curve board, which displays all of our curves. So at any point in your animation, you can start messing with that. We have our curve board is integrated into our 3D viewport, and that is for, well, you can't really see now, but I'm on my laptop, which is just one screen. So it's really good for anyone that has one screen doesn't want to minimize your viewport in order to have like an extra menu for just specifically your curves. Curves can take up a lot of space. So this is a really cool way to be able to work faster and more efficiently. If you have your character selected, you can see that the curves appear behind our character, but if we select our curve, then it displays in front of our character, and we can work on both at the same time without having to move our mouse to a different window or anything like that, different screen. If you so now let's talk about cycles. So because I have animation layers, you can see that if I begin my animation, I have the step, and then she just kind of slides through. But if I wanted to create a cycle, right, I have half of my cycle done, then I can just click on this step, and you see that there I should have my cycle. So you can see here I have this one small keyframe is missing from my cycle because it's not looped yet. So I have a button here that allows me to just loop that animation. So down here you can see that my first keyframe has been copied over to my very end. So any changes that I make to this first keyframe are made to the very last keyframe, my looping keyframe. So very easy to work with. and not complicated at all. So yeah, here we have, like I said before, we have our animation layers. You can hide them. You have these little sliders here that allow you to change any part of your animation very quickly. We also have ghosting. So here you can see that I am ghosting through keyframes, but you can also just ghost through frames. So you'll have a smoother ghosting ability. And you can also animate characters that are not biped or humanoid or have more than 2 eyes. Here you can see that we have a fish, and we also have a wolf here. So same thing applies, right? You have your curve board, everything can be edited pretty quickly. You can look through everything that is in your scene here. Actually, something else I wanted to talk about was so I'm back here in my rigging mode. There's something that we can do, right? When you begin a new animation, whatever your rig was last, like your regular pose, whatever your rig is, your animation will start at that specific pose. So if we wanted to, let's say we wanted our animation, because we wanted to save some time, we wanted to have like our animation start something like this, where her arms are down. Maybe she's holding her mug. Oops. Or let's say we wanted to start with something like this. Then I have changed her here in our check mode. I can click on this button, and here now I have a ref pose or a reference pose. So when I go back into my animations, all of my animations can be recomputed to begin with this ref pose. So I have saved all of my animations. I don't need to reanimate anything. All of that information has been converted to include that new pose in it. So if I begin a new animation, then you see that that pose is here. And if it were something that I wanted to start with, like a better pose, then that would have been done very quickly. What else did I want to show? All right. Oops. So here we can also export and import animations. If you had a character that had very similar bones, then you can export an animation and copy all of those animations over to your character. So multiple characters can have, with the click of a button, all of the same animations. And another thing about our cycle maker is that you can mirror full sides of your cycle over. So if we have this walk here, and we decided that we wanted to change any part of this walk to have a bigger step, then that would be copied over. So very easy to modify any of your animations, and to create multiple animations that are similar. You just copy over an animation, make any modifications you want to one half of your animations, and then that can be saved over to the other side. So here you can see in my mixer, any of my animation layers, of course, have any of the joints that I decide to be in that specific layer. So if you wanted to add any more joints, you can easily do that. Or if you wanted to delete any of these layers, or if you wanted to, let's say I wanted to have my stomach, my spine, and my chest on a different layer, then I can extract that very quickly. And now I have this new animation layer with those specific joints on there. And now they are not in my other layer, the one that they were in before. So here I can, instead of ghost on keys, I can ghost on frames. You can see that that's a far smoother ghosting. Might work better on here. And I can ghost prior, or I can ghost beforehand. And it allows you to be able to quickly view all of your arcs in your animation, make sure that the hand or any part of your character goes wherever it is that you want them to. We can also view our animations in different orthographic views. So I think at this point we might want to do a Q&A. Does anyone have any questions? Or anything they would like me to go over?
Thanks. Yes, I forgot to mention that we could do a Q&A after. Why don't you come here, Gabriela?
Okay.
Yeah? Or maybe you want to show some features if ever we have, yeah, okay. Any question, any reaction?
This is amazing.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. Yes. Oh yeah, we need micro.
Hey, so I see that there's a lot of like actual animating potential in this, but what about actual modeling? Like if I wanted to start from scratch on something, is that a possibility in Akeytsu?
No, we really specialize in rigging in animation. So what you do is you do your model in another package,
Gotcha.
and you can bring any types of model through FBX file formats.
Right.
So you bring your mesh in, and you rig and animate, and then you go out to your rendering package or to the game engine.
So if you like import models from Maya and then
Absolutely.
start animating them here and get that into UV or Unreal?
Yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes? Oh, micro.
That's fine, I'm loud.
Okay.
Oh,
If you're loud, go ahead.
What does Akeytsu do for facial rigging and animation?
As of today, we don't have any blend shapes. As you can see, we haven't shown it, but it's coming. It's in the roadmap. But you can always animate with bones in facial animation. But as you know, we don't have any specialized tools for facial animation. But they will be there soon.
Okay, thank you.
Yes.
Hello, I have an Excel, sorry about this. How much will it be? Like how much, or is it going to be free?
Okay, so as of today, because we were presenting for the 10th anniversary of IndieCade, we are keeping the early access pricing until the release date, which is October 25th. So for an Indie license today, it's $79, while when it will be released, it will be at $179. So it's really worth to, we're going out of this long beta period, and we're releasing the first commercial version on October 25th. So it's worth to try to benefit of the early access pricing, of course. But by the way, for students, you will have free license valid for 12 months. Students and teachers.
Awesome.
Hey.
Yeah. Along those lines, that's fantastic. Along those lines, I did want to mention, because of the technical difficulties we had to cut the part with the students doing the contest, but it was going to be Abertay University, University of Southern California, and Michigan State.
Yeah.
And Rachel, who's right there from
Hi.
USC, when I mentioned to her that we weren't going to be able to do that part, she's like, no, but my team needs this. So that's fantastic news about the student pricing.
Yeah, great. Other questions?
I just had a question about the skeleton. When you rotated part of it and then the rest stayed still, is there a way to control, make some of the skeleton rotate with the body parts? Like, for example, if I wanted to rotate the chest, I wanted the arms to follow, but only the head to stay still.
Yes, Gabriela, did you get that one?
Uh,
Will be
sorry.
much more.
Sorry, can you repeat that?
So, like, earlier in the demo, you showed that when you rotated part of one of the chest joints, back in the skeleton, you had like a follow a line, so the arms didn't rotate with it, and the head, that button.
Yes.
And is there a way to get control, like say I want maybe make the arms follow it, but only the head stays still and doesn't rotate?
Right, so if you have your regular rotation, because these joints on the hand are parented to the arm, they will move with the joint that it is parented under. Because the rest of the body is parents of this joint, then none of that will move. Is that what you meant?
Well,
So I think what she's asking is, you showed it with the chest. If you use the green movement, I think, then the shoulders stay level. Like if you go back to the chest joint that you moved before, yeah. So when you move that one with the green, it stays level. But if you move it with the red, does the whole upper body rotate?
Oh no, that remains
Okay.
the same too.
Okay. But if you do want the whole, like the arms to follow the shoulders, to follow the parenting, how do you get that to happen? There you go. Okay, yeah.
Yeah, so here, when this icon is displayed simply like this, then that is your regular rotation. When you right-click on it, then you have that special rotation.
what if we would only want the special rotation to apply to part of the skeleton though, so like.
Well, this isn't actually applied to your skeleton. This is the Akeytsu move tool. So you can do it to any part of your skeleton. Yeah.
All right, thank you.
Yeah.
Any other questions? Awesome.
We had a question from the stream.
Yes.
Is there a way for? Oh, I'm sorry. Is there a way for loading custom IK handles, or is the foot IK handle set like it is?
Sorry, can you repeat it?
I'm just asking from the stream.
Yeah, go ahead.
Sorry?
Go, repeat it, please.
Is there a way for loading custom IK handles, or is the foot IK handle set away?
No, it's set away in Akeytsu. There's no way to load IK handles. You work, you just load your mesh and you work with the IK and FK we have in Akeytsu. I'm right, Gabriela?
Yes, I believe so.
Yeah, because we have IK and FK on one single skeleton. So you need to use, the same way for animated in Akeytsu code. The solver is on one skeleton.
So when you create an IK, it automatically generates the control, but can you add a control to just like one of the other joints without the IK? If you want more controls there?
So no controls are needed for anything that is FK related. You click directly onto your mesh, and whatever joint is skinned to that mesh, you just go ahead and move that or rotate that, and you directly animate onto the joint, and it works well. There's like no need for any specific controls. It would work the same for like any controls in the face, if you wanted to move the eyes, anything like that.
Okay, cool. Yeah, because in a package like Maya, it's like difficult to like select specifically, a joint, or you would have to like isolate mesh if you didn't want to select. You'd have to easily turn it so that you didn't have to select the mesh. And it just seems like this kind of is like smart enough to know.
Yeah. You select the binded mesh and then you can animate.
Cool.
Yeah.
Impressive features that you haven't seen in other.
Yeah. There's few first industry first.
Great.
This is why we say we kind of have reinvented to a certain level rigging and animation, 3D animation. Other questions? Do we have time?
I think we're about.
Yeah, we're good? Good.
Well, I mean, we should probably wrap it up.
Okay. So thank you everyone to join us again. If you want additional information, please go on our Facebook or Twitter or of course website at nukegara.com. And if you have additional questions, my friend from Hyperkinetics and Hyperkinetic, sorry, I have the tendency of putting an S where there's no, studios with an S, will be around, we will be around all day long, and I hope you enjoyed it.
And the official launch date is?
Again, October 25th.
Awesome, and until then you've got the discount.
This early access
Fantastic.
pricing, absolutely.
Thank you so much. This was really great to see.
Thank you.
All right, and up next